Dr. Anindita, good morning. Rohit, can you start now?
Yes, sir. You
Hello.
can start, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. Rohit, can you start now?
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning, all. I welcome to Design Nuances Edu Series. In this Design Nuances Edu Series, the objectives are like we are going to learn the new topics specific to design, architecture, and fashion studies. And also we'll get introduced to new design school and understand the purpose and the academic practices. And finally, we'll interact with the experts from the same school and observe the knowledge from them. So first 15 minutes will be the introduction about the design school. Today we are going to see about IDM design school. Mr. Mandar will be giving introduction about the design school for first 15 minutes. Then we have our chief guest, Dr. Anindita Roy. She is expert in design education, and she'll be taking a topic on elements of design today for 40 minutes. After that session, we'll have our last 20 minutes will be the question and answer session. And I request you all to mute your microphones, and you are encouraged to comment and chat box. If you have any questions, you can type it in your chat box. We'll discuss that in Q&A session. And I appreciate if you switch on your webcams too. And if you have any questions in between the session, you can raise your hand. So we'll take it up and we'll discuss further on that. And keep your questions when you're asked, so brief and straight to the point. Now, about our chief guest, Dr. Anindita Roy. She is a professor at IGM Institute of Design and Media. She's going to talk about elements of design. Elements of design is a basics of any design education, be it a design or a fashion or a product design or a transportation, fashions, and game, animation, etc. So you need to understand what are the elements of design, how to apply so that you get the required outputs to satisfy your customer or your clients. So Dr. Anindita Roy is holding a PhD degree with a double masters from science and management. She also CAD engineer other than styling and design profession. She's good at creative writing and blogger and photographer too. And she's having more than 15 years of experience in the academic field. And in 2010, she got a special invite from French government to visit Paris and take a tour about the design colleges in and around Paris to understand the design practices and the educational quality over there. And now she's transferring those knowledges to Indian design academic field, being a professor at ITM Design Institute. I welcome Dr. Anindita Roy to the session today, and I hand over the session to Mr. Mandar to introduce about the ITM Design School to the students in the community. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sir Mandar is busy somewhere else, so I'm Beena Sharma, working as academic relations in ITM. ITM is into educational industry from last 30 years, and in designing, this is our 14th year. So we offer BDIS program, that is Bachelor in Designing in Fashion Designing, Interior Designing, Visual Communications, Animation, and VFX. Our academic partners are Politecnico di Milano, Italy, Manchester Metropolitan University, UK, La Salle College, Australia, Canada, and Spain, and Prime Focus Academy for VFX and Animation. Thank you for joining us for today's session. Over to you, Dr. Anindita.
Thank you, Veena. Let's start with today's. I hope my voice is audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's start with today's session of elements of design. It is, like Sir said, it's a very basics of every design. We start with elements, and without elements of design, there is no design. Lots of times students ask me, these are such simple elements, why do we need to learn them? But when we ask them after a month what elements of design we taught you, they are not able to understand. And because they are not focusing on elements of design, they are not able to design well. And they are not able to design faster. So to be able to design faster, you need something as a guideline. Okay, these are the things, and I have to play with these only. There is nothing outside that. Nothing, absolutely nothing outside elements of design which you can use for creating a design. Whatever you need to create a design is there in the elements of design itself, right? So even though it is feeling that it is so simple, so easy, still you have to remember them. It may seem very easy, and today's session is just a 40-minute session, right? But when you come to college, the element of design will be taught to you over 2 to 3 months. So you will be doing a very thorough research on every element. You will be actually using every element to create your design. And that is how you will actually soak in the whole information in your mind. Why? So that you can use these elements of design later in your designs and be a good designer. Like for design professionals, see, there is a difference between design and art. So when we are doing art, we have the luxury of making one single art piece for maybe 2 months or 3 months, or maybe a year. Some artists will keep on completing the art for a year. We designers do not have that luxury. Our client will run away if we try to design for a long time. We have a specific client in mind. The client has come to us with a problem, and they want a design solution to it. So if we cannot deliver the design solution in time, the client will run away, right? So in order to make our design process faster, we need to know the fundamentals of design. And elements of design is the most fundamental of design, which you can actually soak in to create your designs faster. Let me share the screen with you. Give me a moment, and then we'll go forward from there. So today we are talking about elements of design only. After elements of design, generally we do principles of design, but today we are focusing majorly on elements, the elements. Like I said, elements of design are used by all designers. You can be a fashion designer, you can be an interior designer, you can be a product designer, you can be a graphic designer, a web designer, or an architect or an artist. Each and every person who creates something for his or her client uses these elements of design. And if you, like I said, if you consciously use these elements of design, you will find that you are always a level above the person who is not using element of design and just keeps thinking ki what to make, what to make. So instead of thinking what to make, just pick up the elements, throw them together and create something. It sounds easier than when you are going to do it. It sounds easier when I say it, but when you are going to do it, actually, you will find that the process becomes more and more difficult. So if you have the things in mind, if you are thinking about it consciously, like I said, conscious thinking is very important for designers. Like you are doing something and thinking something else, then you won't be able to design. So conscious thinking, focusing, and improving your power of observation is very important. Now, when I teach you the elements of design today, I hope that all of you will start actually observing the elements of design around you. I remember in one when I almost started teaching design, there was a group of few boys, only boys that time. For some reason, there were only boys in the class. So I was teaching them elements of design, and somehow those boys were not able to grasp the thing, but still I taught them the elements of design that day. And the next day when they came to college, everybody was saying, today I saw that line in that place. So what has happened? The person has started thinking and observing. So observation is very, very, very important for any designer. So if you don't start observing things around you, it is going to be difficult to create a design. Okay, so let's move forward. Let me put it on the slideshow. Okay, hope this is visible. So
yes, ma'am.
when
It's
you are
visible.
sitting here today, I would like you people to take some notes, just not listen, but take some creative notes. All of you are studying for design. You are studying to be a designer. So I hope you all have sketchbooks, pens, color pencils, sketch pens, all lying around you because you are becoming a creative person. So I hope that you people always sit with these things in hand. Like even when you are going to see a movie or going to a picnic, you should always carry a small sketchbook and some color pencils, color pens, or something to take your notes on. Mostly students take notes in their mobiles these days. But for designers, I would say it is always a better idea to take notes on a sketch pad. It can be a very small sketch pad, A5 size or A6 size even. Small blank notebook. You should always carry with yourself. And I believe I have seen DQ Lab notebooks with some students, those long ones. So they are very, very useful. You should always carry one of them around you. And I am really happy that DQ Labs give those blank notebooks to students. So they are very important. So if you have them in hand, take them out. If you have any other sketchbook in hand, take them out and take some creative notes like these. And creative notes nowadays is not only for designers, it is for all subject people. So you can see how an economic student has taken a creative note here. So maybe you can take some good creative notes, and at the end of the session, you can show it to me like this. Like this is from a session before you, similar session. So you can make some creative notes like this and you can show it to me at the end of the session. You can ask me any questions that you have in mind. So when you take notes like this, one, you remember. Second, by the end of the session, there will be lots of questions in your mind which you can ask me then. Okay. So when we're talking of the design elements, like we said, the design elements are the very, very basic units of any visual design, any design that we are able to see. So generally all design we are able to see. So mostly design is visual. It can be in the form of a drawing on a sheet or it could be the actual design. In the actual design also we use the elements of design, and when we are actually creating the design, when our thought process is running on in our mind and we are putting it on paper, then also we are using the elements of design. So the elements of design are being used to process your design, to develop your design, and then they are used to actually create the real design also in the real world. So these elements are basically components. Like I said, they are basic units of design, but we can also call them as components, parts of design. And parts, which kind of parts? Parts which can be isolated, which you can see separately. You can say this is this, this is this. So you can define and isolate the whole elements part by part in any composition. So we can say elements are components or parts which can be isolated and defined in any visual design, any style or any work of art. Okay, so basic units, components, these are the keywords that you need to remember. So your mind starts working. And designers, for you, your mind, the working of your mind is very, very important. So what do we do with these elements? We structure our designs, right? So we can say these elements are the structure of the work we are designing, we are creating. And these elements also carry a very wide variety of messages. We'll see how that is done, how that can be identified rather, and how you can use these elements to avoid mistakes also. Sometimes elements wrongly used can convey a wrong message. That is also very important thing, because you don't want to send a wrong message to your client, right? So you have to really use the elements in a very careful manner. So what are the elements of design? You will see that they are very, very simple elements which you generally know, but now you will be able to correlate them with design. Normally, if you give the elements to anybody, a layman, they will not be able to correlate it with design, right? But you as designers, you will be able to correlate these elements with your design, and not only design, whatever you see around you, like nature. Nature has been designed by God, right? Or whom we call God, or whatever name we call him or her by. Somebody may say that it's him, it's her. So a great designer is sitting there somewhere and he or she has designed the whole earth, right? So you will see these elements in his designs also in nature, right? So in nature also you will find all these elements, and of course you will see all these elements in man-made compositions also, like the interior where you are sitting, the chair on which you are sitting, the room where you are staying, the clothes that you are wearing, everything has been created by bringing together these 7 basic elements. So these are the 7 basic elements. Once you go to study in college, a few more elements will come. But today we'll stick to these very basic 7 elements. So any design starts with a point. Many points will join to make a line. Many lines will join to form a shape. So when the lines join to form a shape, it should be closed. If it is not closed, then it is not a shape. It is still a line. Okay. So for a shape to happen, the line has to close somewhere. Then we have forms. So you can see that shape is a 2-dimensional flat object. We'll discuss more about that. And once we add a 3rd dimension to this flat shape, we get a form. Then a form, just a blank form, will be boring. So now we start beautifying our design, right? So once we start beautifying our design, we need color, we need texture, and we need pattern. So these are the very basic 7 elements of design. And once you have used them, your beautiful functional design is ready. Okay. So now let's check out each design separately. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So let's continue. So I hope in this short time you must have noted these elements. Let's move forward. So I've just put some visuals in front of you. So remember it this way: point to line, line to shape, shape to form. Your design is ready, then you fill it with color, texture, or pattern, and your design is beautiful. So design may be beautiful, design may not be beautiful. It does not mean that the word design does not mean a beautiful object. No, the word design means to create. There's a very big misconception, especially in India. Then when we say design, people think it's something beautiful. An object. Design is not an object. Design is a process of creation. If you look into the English meaning in dictionary, open your dictionary or open a web dictionary on the internet and search the meaning of word design. So design means to create. And design is a noun and a verb both, right? So when I say check out my design, it's a noun and I'm designing a website. So the word design becomes a verb, right? So design is not an object. It's a process of creation. Okay. So we have to make our creation beautiful. So for that, we need the colors, the textures, the patterns, and we have to use them intelligently. And you have to pick. So picking from the elements, like I said, makes your work easier. So let's just see how the 3D form arises. So you can see from a point, we have a line. The point went for a walk and we got a line. Then the lines joined to form a shape, right? So point to line, line to shape. And the first shape that we get is a triangle. So triangle is also called the mother shape. You'll remember triangle is also called the mother shape. And we keep increasing the number of lines and we start getting different kinds of shapes. So we got a square, a rectangle, a pentagon, a hexagon. And once we increase the number of lines so much that we cannot count the lines, we get a circle. So a circle is also made up of lines, so many lines that our eyes cannot decipher how many lines there are. Actually, if you are working on AutoCAD or any CAD software, you will actually be able to count the lines in a circle also. Generally, it is fixed 1024 lines, the basic one. But yes, a circle is also made up of many, many lines. So what do we get? A polygon, right? Remember the word polygon, a bit of geometry here. Then we can start modifying these forms. We can cut it, we can fold it, and we can get different kinds of shapes. Then we fill them with texture, and we fill them with color, right? So point to line, line to shape, shape to form. You can see the forms here, and you can see how it has been filled with colors, how it has been filled with textures, how it has been filled with patterns, and our design is generally ready to be launched or presented. So now let's check up each element one by one. So first we have points. Okay, before that, I made a mind map for you people so that you can remember it easily. It's a 7-pointed star. I made it 7-pointed to note all the elements together. So first we have point, then we have line, then we have shape, form, color, texture, and pattern. By now, I hope you have memorized it. I have said it so many times that you must have memorized it, hopefully. So tomorrow, if somebody asks you what are the elements of design, you should be able to say them in sequence. You're not supposed to say pattern first and then form and then texture. Not like that. Always go by sequence. That way you will remember better. So point to line. Many points make a line. Many lines make a shape. If you add a third dimension to a shape, you get a form. You modify that form. You fill it with color. You fill it with texture. You fill it with pattern and your design is ready. So as we go forward, we'll look into many more kinds of lines, types of shapes, types of forms. But first, let's check out the point. So you must be thinking what to do with the point, but I believe all of you have learned stippling, the art of stippling when you are working on a sheet of design. So when you are learning shading and all that, you must have learned about stippling. So that is one way you can use point in design. But sometimes in interviews, you are asked what is a point. So all of a sudden, if somebody asks you what is a point, you are not able to answer that. So I'm giving you a definition today. So you can always say very confidently, a point is an element that has a position but no extension. Makes sense, right? It has a position but no extension. It is there in space as a single mark. And another thing, it has a precise location, but the location is limited. So this is how a designer speaks. You are all creatively intelligent people, so you should be able to speak with confidence. So you should be able to tell your interviewer what a point is. And if you use the elements of design as an aspiring designer in your portfolio, you will impress your interviewer. So one point I'm telling you about, very important point I'm telling you about interview portfolios, always have 2 or 3 sheets of elements of design and talk about elements of design. The person will be impressed so much that you will get an admission, ekdam confirmed admission. So here are some examples. This I'm very sure you know about stippling, and this is something different. This is called pointillism. So stippling is basically black and white. On a white surface, we use black ink pen and we call it stippling. So I'm very sure you people must have used this. You have learned stippling and now you know how to use it in your design also as an element of design, not just some dots, not just some collection of dots, right? Now think of a dot as a point, the starting of a design. So you can create things like this. You can use colors. And now lines. So again, the definition. So line is a natural result of multiple points in space. This is how you will define a line. So definitions are very important. Okay, so you should be able to talk about it. What is line? Multiple points in space, many points joined to make a line, right? So it is the result of multiple points in space. So simple. It's so simple that it is almost childish. But when you are asked all those things from the point of view of a designer, you are not able to say it. So you should be able to say these things, talk about these things. As designers in the design circle, you are not supposed to talk about this with your client. No, 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 never. Never talk about elements of design with your client or your customer. This knowledge is for your design circle. When you are moving with designers, you're having a party with designers, you will see that designers are talking this language. With your teachers, with your friends, your design circle friends, you will be talking in this language. So you should be able to talk about these things. So in a fun way, we can say a line is a dot that went for a walk. That way you will remember. Next, it has a character. It has a length and it has direction. Line always has a direction and always has a length. Like point does not have a direction or a length. It is static there in one place. But line has a length and direction. One direction. 1D. You know about 2D and 3D, but you never realize that line is also there, which is 1D. One-dimensional. Any one direction they will go. Right? So we can group the lines together to form shapes, or we can group them to create value, density, or texture also. Like you learn shading, you learned hatching, you use lines, right? So lines can be grouped together to create a sense of value, density, or texture. And now we have the types of lines. This is also very, very important because each type of line invokes a certain kind of emotion or denotes a certain emotion or denotes certain things which you want to tell the audience. Your audience is your design clients, your customers. So you want to say something, you want to make a statement, or you want to evoke an emotion, you have the tools in your hand. Very, very important tools. You can make your or break your design by right use of these elements or the wrong use of these elements. And because shapes are made of lines, the same characteristics will go in for shapes also and for forms also. Right? So easy, vertical, horizontal, diagonal. These are the lines you have always heard about. Some of you might think ahead and think of curves, spirals, waves. Then we go a step ahead and we think of zigzags. We think of castles. Then we can think of step up and down. We can think of the sharp line, the mountain line, the jagged line, the walk around. Then we have dashed and dotted. Then we have loops. So these are some of the basic line types. And I'm very sure when you start thinking, sit with your pad and your color pencils. I'm always saying color pencils. Always use colors because our brain likes colored information. Right? So we know the types of lines. Now, these lines have certain characteristics also. So the lines can be thick, they can be thin, they can be tapering, or they can be uneven. So the width of the line matters. Then the length of the line matters, long, short, continuous, broken. See how many types of lines we are getting. The direction of the line, which way the line is going. The focus of the line, is it sharp? Is it blurry? Is it fuzzy? Or is it choppy? And the feeling of the line. Is it sharp? Is it jagged? Is it graceful? It is smooth? Which kind of feeling the line is giving? Right? So I'll give you seconds to maybe note down these characteristics. You can just note down them in very short. Or maybe just you can draw a thick line and a thin line and a tapering line. That way you will remember better. So when you draw these things, or maybe you draw a thick horizontal line, a thin vertical line, a short diagonal line, few curves. So that is how you remember better. Then, like I told you, lines communicate emotion and states of mind. How? Through its character and direction. Right? So we have just learned about the characters of line, right? And we have also learned about the direction of lines. Now we will see how these lines express emotions. So horizontal lines, they suggest a feeling of rest or repose. So horizontal lines, wherever you want to give a feel of relaxation. So any composition, it can be a fashion design composition, or it could be an interior design composition, it could be an architecture design composition, or it could be a product design composition. Wherever you use horizontal lines, the outcome becomes quiet and restful. So you get a feeling of restfulness and relaxation. And vertical lines, of course, they communicate a feeling of tallness. Lots of times you must have heard that short people should not wear dresses with horizontal lines. And you must have heard that vertical lines in your dress make you look taller. Yes, it is true. So, perpendicular lines, they suggest overpowering grandeur. Okay, so just not vertical lines. Vertical lines, when placed together, it will give you a sense of tallness and grandeur. So how can we use them in our design? I have picked a very few examples because time is not too much. We have a very short period of time. So vertical lines in fashion design, you can see, and that was interior design. And we go to diagonal lines. Diagonal lines, how will you remember? Diagonal lines suggests what? Diagonal lines suggest a feeling of movement and direction. So remember this sports person, running sports person. So you will remember that diagonal means movement. Like you can think of horizontal lines, think that you are sleeping, then you stood up, vertical line, and you start running. It is a diagonal line. Sleep, stand, run. So horizontal, vertical, diagonal. So anywhere you put diagonal lines, you will give a sense of movement, of excitement, right? Movement means excitement, a chirpiness. So you can use diagonal lines there. Then vertical lines and horizontal lines, when put together, they communicate stability and solidity. So you will see lots of checks are used in formal places. You can use them like this also to create your designs. And I have put some more examples of checks. Generally, people do not think of checks in furniture, but see how beautifully the checks have been used in furnitures. Normally, when we think of checks, we think of check shirts. But why not check beds? Why not check chairs? Of course, shirts are definitely there. And now, curved lines. So, curved lines are also of two types. First is a soft, shallow curve, right? So, curved lines you have learned. Now, you are learning more about curved lines. So, soft, shallow curves. So, it means comfort, safety, familiarity, and relaxation. So, wherever you want to suggest comfort, relaxation, you can use soft, shallow curves. And then we have deep, acute curves. So, deep, acute curves, confusion, turbulence, frenzy, like a violence in a storm, maybe a tangled thread, or maybe the turmoil of a crowd. So those are turbulent suggestions. So deep acute curves. So we have soft shallow curves and we have deep acute curves. So two types of curves. So same are for waves. We have soft shallow waves and deep acute waves also. So soft and shallow, deep and acute, two kinds of curves and waves. Then we have zigzags. Zigzags create excitement, but zigzag can also be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, right? Because they are lines at the end of the day. So any kind of line can be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal in direction. So zigzag lines, already they are exciting enough. But if we want to add more excitement to a zigzag, then we add the direction. So like horizontal zigzags are less active than vertical ones. So you have zigzags now. Again, so many different kinds of each line, right? So the characteristics and the direction put together in a line, they create thousands of combinations actually. And those you can pick up and use in your designs. A simple example of zigzag in a dress and in an interior. You can see the example, how to use the lines in your design actually. Another example of zigzag in an interior, how you can play with colors and lines. Interesting, right? I have just collected a few line arts for you people to see how to use these lines in your design. See how this face line art has been used on a wall in an interior. So think ahead. And also in fashion, if you search, you will find many more. These are, anybody can put in the chat box who actually started making these kind of faces. Do you know the name of the artist? Can you name the artist? Anyone? You can put it in the chat box. It's Picasso. So if you search faces by Picasso, you will find these kinds of line art. And then you can modify it to make your own and put it in your own designs. Like nowadays, you can order t-shirts online with your own design and quite cheap, pretty cheap. So give them your design, maybe put your name at the bottom and have your own collection, right? Now we come to shapes. Shapes will all have the characteristics of lines, but then it has a few more. So I told you, when you close n number of lines, you get a shape. So here on the image, you can see lines and shapes both. How the lines have made shapes. See, these lines going shorter and shorter has created a triangular shape. So see how you can play with lines and shapes. Just not join a few lines to make a triangle, just not join 3 lines to make a triangle, but see how the lines are becoming from long to short and giving a triangular shape effect, right? So this is your design, this is your creative sense. How you use these elements to create further design. And 2 things to remember, shape is always 2-dimensional and it is always flat. Then we have categories of shapes and forms. Geometric shapes you are all aware of because geometry you have been studying in school from your childhood. We see them everywhere, but we don't notice them, right? Now that I have told you to notice, start noticing them. And then we have organic shapes, the shapes in nature. These are informal irregular and free-flowing. So geometric shapes you all know, and organic shapes also you know. Now you will remember better. So geometric shapes and organic shapes. Then another category which we can think of is static shapes that appear very stable and resting. And we have dynamic shapes which appear moving and active. Again, a kind of emotion, a state of mind. Static shapes may be peaceful, dynamic shapes may be restless. So it's up to you, the designer, to put it to use. Then we have positive shapes and negative shapes. So generally the darker space is called the negative one and the lighter space is called the positive one. But we can also think of the space left after using two designs. Like here you can see white faces, here you can see black faces. Ultimately, we are getting a empty space in both. So it's up to you how to use it. See this artwork, how positive shape and negative shape has been used. Notice from bottom up. A mouse, a cat, a dog, a horse, an elephant, and there's a monkey kind of being here. So the artist or the designer has played with positive and negative shapes. So you have to play with your design. If you don't play with your design, you become bored, right? Then we come to forms. Actually, everything in our surroundings are basically forms. The chair on which you are sitting is formed of many cuboids. Maybe a table leg is cylindrical. There's, of course, the gas cylinder at your home. So everything around us is three-dimensional, right? We live in a three-dimensional world. So when we use the word form, it is three-dimensional. And we can always create a three-dimensional effect on a two-dimensional paper also. It's a kind of illusion. So we can say that form is derived from point, line, and shape, right? It's a combination of all three. And we arrive at a form that is our final design. So simple form, cube, and then we have tapering forms also. So if we taper the height, we get a different form. Like we have a cylinder, and if we taper the height of the cylinder, we get a cone, right? Just soak in the information how from a cylinder you will get a cone. And then from the square base or a cube or cuboid, you will get a pyramid. So tapering heights. So form, you were thinking only of straight heights, but no, you can have tapering heights also. So cones and pyramids, all kinds of cones and pyramids. See, a pyramid with a pentagonal base and a pyramid with a circular base is called a cone, right? So pyramids and cones. And then what you can do, you can cut the top of the pyramid. So these are truncated shapes. Truncated means cut. So we are moving ahead and creating more and more forms. From a simple form, we are getting more different kinds of forms. And remember what these truncated forms are called, the bottom part? Frustums. You have studied it in your geometry, in your class 9 and 10 geometry. So that much is very important. This could be a lampshade, it could be a skirt, it could be anything. It's up to you to think of it as your own design. So various kind of truncated forms. So you can see how it is getting more and more advanced. Then we have color. Everybody knows the 7 colors of the rainbow. I'm very sure as designers, you must be having it in your fingertips. Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. This should be in your fingertips. Apart from indigo, the rest of them are in the color scheme, the primary and the secondary colors, right? So again, you should be able to name the colors. In interviews, generally these things are asked. What are the primary colors? What are the secondary colors? And what are the tertiary colors? So red and blue makes violet. Blue and yellow makes green. Red and yellow makes orange. These are the things which you have to have in your mind. Then we have red orange as a tertiary color. We have yellow orange as a tertiary color. We have blue violet as a tertiary color and blue green as a tertiary color. And then we have yellow green as a tertiary color and yellow orange as a tertiary color. So we have 12 colors in the color wheel. So even a color wheel chapter we study for at least a week when you come to college, but you should have the very basic knowledge. We'll study more about colors when you come to college. Right? So again, the color combinations, which color mixed with what gets you what, that has to be in your fingertips. These are the basics. Then we have textures. So texture is the surface quality of an object, how it feels to be seen or how it feels to be touched, right? So mostly surface is touchable, but sometimes the surface we can see from a long distance also, like a wall. We may not always go and touch that wall, but we can see whether it is rough or smooth. So that is texture, rough and smooth. And then we move ahead to more and more textures. So textures, when you are making textures with pen or pencil, this is how you generally pick up textures. You can draw textures like this. You can notice textures around you, man-made textures, natural textures. They are all around you. All you have to do is notice. Design is a very interesting subject. Everything is around you. Everything is visible. Only you have to do what? Notice. So observe. You have to improve your power of observation and check out all the kinds of elements that are there around you. Maybe you will find a wooden line, right? Or a marble texture triangle, or a pink sphere. Everything, whatever is around you, they are elements and elements of design. They are your tools. And then we have the last one, that is patterns. There are again many kinds of patterns. Again, pattern is a very, very long chapter, but in a nutshell, very simple. It is repetition of shape or form. You take any shape and you repeat it. How you repeat it? There are around 50 odd templates. How you repeat that shape, that also we teach while teaching you design, all design. Every designer has to learn these things and then they use it in their own design. So patterns can be used by an interior designer on the wall, on the curtain, on the carpet, on the bed sheets. Fashion designers, of course, on all kinds of dresses. And product designers can use these patterns on their products also, right? So everybody is using these elements somewhere or the other, right? So you will be taught about patterns also in depth. So like I told you, each and every element will be taught to you in depth once you come to college. Okay. So pattern is the repetition of shape and form. Here I have shown you a few kinds of patterns. You can see this motif. It's called a motif. A unit of a pattern is called a motif. So this motif has been repeated in a certain manner. Here you can see simple boxes. Here you can see the boxes are dropping down half. Here you can see they are going diagonal. Here you can see they are going vertical like a stripe. So there are around 50 or so such templates, and from those 50 templates you can mix and match to make thousands and thousands of patterns. So like I told you, it is up to you to create more and more advanced design. Okay, so again, this was a very, very short introduction to all the things, the elements, basic elements. So when you come to study with us, you will find that we are going to teach everything in much more depth. So I hope you have understood all the elements of design. Now, I would like you people to put on your videos. Maybe you can first put in the chat box that I want to show something or I want to ask something, and then you can put on your video and you can show me what you want to show me, or you can ask what you want to ask. Maybe you have some previous drawings or designs. Maybe you have studied about elements before and you have made something before. So you can ask me that also. Or you can ask me to go back to any slide if you liked and see it again. Anyone?
Yeah, students, if you have any questions, you can put a chat box. Before that, as Madam requested, you can show your image noting, the creative note, what you took for last 40 minutes.
Anybody has taken some creative notes? Whatever, it does not need to be very beautiful. Whatever you made in these 40 minutes is good enough. You can always make them better later, right? Anyone, please, you can ask anything. So, sir, everybody here, they are all design aspirants of this year, or?
Yes. It's a mix of 22 or 23 students. And there's a question from Anika Ghosh. Ma'am, as designers, should our first priority be to always create something new? That was a question from Anika.
See, as designers, there are two kinds of things. One, the customer will come to you, Anika, right? The customer will come, and let's say if you want to, you are aiming for fashion or interior or any other design. Tell me, Anika. So I'll give you an example that way. Okay, let me give you a general example. Let's say a fashion designer has a client who comes and she says that I want a gown to be designed to wear in the engagement ceremony of my cousin, right? So the client is coming to you and giving you certain specifications, and you are creating according to that specification which the client is giving you. That is, the client is giving you all the instruction, like I want a green gown, I want it in silk, or I wanted this and that, and then you are creating something different. right? So our aim, yes, is always to create something different, may not be new always, but then if you create something new, then you become famous basically. And like, it is not always that you can create something new, right? What you can do, you can, instead of the client coming to you, you identify the client and make something different for that client, something innovative, something new for that client. And when you put it in the market, it starts selling, and at the end of the day, you make money. So we are here to make a career. Career means money, right? So ultimately, it's money and fame we are desiring, right? We have to have money because we have to live, we have to eat. So we have chosen this as a career. So the more better, the more newer things you make, it's always better for you. Yes, Shreya, there are times when creative flow stops. So it's not something to worry about. It's you can fix it. Just the main thing I ask you to do about fixing it is like meditating. And like, again, I want to tell you, meditation has nothing to do with religion. Meditation is basically calming down your mind and concentrating on something nice. Maybe you concentrate on a beautiful orange colored rose for some time and you will see your mind opening up. Or meditation for like spiritual purposes is quite advanced. We don't need that advanced meditation process for ourselves. We just need to calm down, maybe have a relaxing music and just sit quietly for some time. Maybe read something different, read a storybook. I read a storybook whenever I get stuck. And I sometimes read those kids' storybooks of Enid Blyton and all, and that generally makes my mind flow. That is how I do it. I read a storybook and I read my old storybooks from childhood. You may read something different. You may just try to learn a new art, any new art. Maybe you love watercolors, then you try acrylic colors or fabric colors. So once you are trying to do something different, you are making your mind work. When you are making your mind work, your creative flow will happen. And somebody has asked about textile design. No, we don't have a textile design course separately, but in interior design and fashion design, both you will be taught in depth about textiles. So when we are talking about textile design, basically we talk about materials, what to use to create a textile product, the colors and the patterns. Those are the three things. And then, of course, the manufacturing and production process is also taught in textile design, which we generally do not teach in interior or fashion. We just pick up the product from various places. So you will be taught where to pick up your textile from. So I can give you the name of a textile designer who has now started designing for interior, architecture, fashion, and product all. Her name is Camille Valala. I really love her products. I have written the name for you to search her designs. She was basically taught as a textile designer. Now she is working in interiors, she is working in fashion, she is working with architecture, she is working as a street artist. Matlab street means the zebra crossing. So lots of designers are diversification. They are going into diversification. So it does not mean that you are a fashion designer, so you have to stick to fashion design all your life. You can dabble with other designs also. And like Shreya asked about blocking of a creative flow, when you are getting blocked, try other designs. Try to learn about other designs. Then you will see how your mind starts working. Like your mind has stopped and you cannot think of a design for your dress. Go and see the Qutub Minar and any other architecture, historic architecture. You will find so many inspirations for there. So basically, design inspiration is very important. So move about a bit. You will find lots of inspiration around you. In architecture, in nature, you will find lots of inspiration. And we need inspiration, right? Lots of design inspiration. So Beena,
Yeah.
maybe you can take 2-3
Friends,
minutes
any
and
other
just name
questions?
the courses. Beena, would you like to name the courses? Take 2 and 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. So we are offering the courses BDIS program in fashion designing, interior designing, visual communications, VFX and animation. And for
Yeah, these are,
VFX and animation, we are in collaboration with Prime Focus Academy as well.
yeah, so Prime Focus Academy actually makes all the Bollywood and Hollywood visual effects. So if you are interested in animation, we have a very, very good course. Apart from, of course, interior, fashion, and visual communication, our animation and visual effect course is very, very interesting.
And if you have any queries
Yeah.
about ITM courses, you can contact me. I have given my number in the chat box. I'm Beena Sharma. You can save my number and call me.
Yeah. Also, I have pasted that school link on the courses. Interesting courses. Go and check it out. And also, we have your mobile number. Doubts, if you are watching, please fill all other questions. So, I think I'm going to close now. It was a fantastic session about elements of design. You learned about from line to line to shape and texture and colors, everything, all the 7 elements we covered. Very interestingly, great examples to understand the students. I hope students get a lot of knowledge from this session. And if you have any other questions, you can post it in the YouTube channel. We have recorded in the session will be displayed in that uploaded in the YouTube after this session over. So you can continue asking question over there. So whenever the time gets, professor from ITM or from DQ Labs representative can give the answer to you. We are always happy to help you all. Nice sessions. Thanks for joining, and I thank to Dr. Anindita Roy and Beena Sharma for making this wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Anindita. Thank you, sir. Good day. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.